to the Sunday Puncher podcast. I have Fred here with me. Fred, say hello.
Hello.
All right. Easy with the cheerful demeanor. My name's Angelo. I'm your host. Thanks for clicking on us, whether you're a subscriber or not. This is your first time. Maybe you're here to hear us talk about Jake Paul because you love Jake Paul and you tuned into boxing, or maybe you're a grizzled veteran and you're like, I know these guys are definitely got nothing good to say about that event last night. However you came to the podcast, thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoy it. Let's get right into things. Fred, you doing all right on this, at least for us, warm Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, it's a little cold here.
All right, well, that's what you get when you live in rural Canada.
Yeah, no, it's fucking... We're having a shitty April so far.
I live in beautiful Southern California, so
Yeah, but fucking,
I'm
not paying $1 million for fucking one bedroom.
Yeah, but my house looks a lot better than yours. I'll tell you that. And I also don't have to drive 45 miles to go to the market like you do.
The fuck
Don't start with me, okay? Your cousin who runs the local market that has 3 aisles, like that don't count, okay? So let's start with this Triller card last night. We had a lot of boxing, but let's start with the Triller card. And whenever you're gonna give some constructive criticism to someone, or before you want to slap the taste out of someone's mouth for a good reason, you want to start with the compliment. So let's see if any, there may not be any, but let's see if there's anything good that you had to say about the Triller card last night. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to say if there any good stuff you have, and then we'll talk about maybe things where they could improve, to say the least. So anything good for you?
I really like the rap supergroup. Ice Cube, Snoop, Too Short, E40.
Okay.
Because that's a new supergroup. I just learned that last night.
Really?
Yeah. I guess they're like, they've formed a group together, so that's what that was all about.
All right.
I thought that was really fucking good.
I'm down for that.
I'm not lying. Because when they had that Saweetie on, which is just fucking awful,
don't talk about my girl like that. I'll slap the fucking taste out your mouth.
Yeah, I've seen Quavo slap the taste out of her mouth already.
Oh, we're off to a good start here.
Hey, I didn't hit it. Yeah, but it was like she did one of her songs that was like used Blow the Whistle. And then I'm like, man, wouldn't it be good if fucking Too Short actually came out and did this? And then he did, and I was happy. But that was it. All these old ass rappers had live mics. Everybody else was doing fucking pre-recorded shit. Except for the Biebs, but I didn't listen to the Biebs. I don't know, was the Biebs live?
Well, to be completely honest with you, I muted the
You muted the Biebs?
I did not care for any of the concerts. I don't care about that because I don't know. This may be a novel concept to the people who were putting on this card, but when I tune in for a boxing match, I don't care about music. If I wanted to watch a concert, I'd either go buy a ticket to see it, which we can't do right now in COVID, but there are a number of opportunities to see sort of these pseudo live performances, whether they be on some streaming platform or anything like that, or I'll go to YouTube, but that's when I want to watch music. But I come to a boxing card to see boxing. And granted, there was only one legitimate fight on this card, at least by my recollection. And that was also the least legitimate contest, but we'll get to that in a bit. I do want to say this, though. If we're going to say something positive about it, and I don't know that you'll agree with me, but I actually, the big takeaway from the Tyson and Jones event, which was by all accounts better than this one. Let's start there. But the one thing that people really liked from that event was the commentary. People thought that it was so cool to have commentary that really sounded like just people that were genuinely enthused and had no real idea what they were watching, but they knew that they enjoyed it. And so you had Snoop Dogg's level of commentary where it was so casual, and yet it was like, I don't know, it was infectious in its enthusiasm. Now, this time around, I actually think the commentary had a completely completely different aim, and I can respect the aim. I think that they've come to the conclusion that outside of the main event, no one cares about the boxing. And that's why people do not watch these for boxing. How do I know? It almost reminded me of like, you ever like vacuum your house and you put something on to listen to so that your real attention could be on what you're listening to, and your arms are just mindlessly vacuuming the rug. Well, that's what the commentary was to the fights last night. The fights was you vacuuming, but the commentary was you actually giving your attention to that, because it completely overshadowed what was happening in the ring. They really regarded it as like, that is the secondary thing you should be paying attention to here, because that commentary was clearly far more interesting than anything that happened in the ring last night, except for one part in which we will get to. But that's what I'll say. Like, if that's the aim, cool. They succeeded. I don't have any issue with it as a concept. The execution, on the other hand, I'll let you take over from here. In terms of the execution.
Okay, I could sort of see what you're saying with the concept. The execution was fucking awful. Like you said, that's the thing. Okay, with Snoop Dogg before, Snoop Dogg as ever, Snoop Dogg comes off as a goofy uncle or whatever type, but Snoop Dogg's a really smart fucking guy.
Snoop Dogg comes off as Snoop Dogg. That's really what it is.
And that's it. Yeah, he's Snoop Dogg, but he's not a clown. He can be clownish and he can be relaxed, but he knows what the fuck he's doing. These other guys, I thought it was kind of embarrassing. Like Ray Flores is swearing for no reason. Like, I get that you sort of want to downgrade and be relaxed, but it really came off like a bunch of guys that were getting paid money and they had no fucking idea why they're getting paid money. It comes off as the worst. A lot of people weren't like young enough or old enough to remember how the .com era was, but maybe they might remember, 2007. This is the kind of vibe I was getting, where a lot of sweaty swindler money is flowing around. No one knows why it's happening, but they're not going to turn it down. And that's what the whole fucking night seemed like to me. The execution is really shitty if that's what they're going for, and I don't disagree. That's not what they were going for, but it was really a fucking step down, because it's like sort of, hey, wasn't Snoop Dogg great? And you go, yeah, because he's fucking Snoop Dogg. He's an entertainer. He's been entertaining for fucking, I don't know what now, 20 years.
He's still relevant because you can put him on anything, and he makes everything better because he's Snoop.
Yeah.
He's got a brand to him.
Yeah. He knows how to sell anything. He's a salesman. And the rest of the clever guys weren't. And that was the problem.
My issue, I guess, is like, it did not come off like we were watching a sport last night. Nothing was like, it just did not have the vibe of a competitive sport. And I don't know, that it seems like that's what they want, but at the same time, they're not paying it the respect. And I'm really cognizant of the fact that as boxing fans, we tend to reject everything. Okay. We tend to reject anything that's new. And we've seen it time and time again. You look at the reaction that PBC got, where they tried so many different things. They tried to add sort of like a WWE style. You had
but boxing did that kind of entrances before.
And
WWE adopted it, and then it was like, hey, they're taking WWE stuff. It's like, what? No,
but so I
fucking elevated it.
I'm saying that because it's like, I'm trying to balance, like, make sure that my take isn't just being like the old guy who's like, yeah, I'm a fan of boxing and I don't like anything that's not like boxing. But at the same time, I actually just didn't really enjoy it last night. The only one on commentary that seemed like they were like, nah, I'm still going to treat this like we're watching real fights here, was Mario Lopez. Do you know how bad it is when you got Al Bernstein, Ray Flores, who are two experienced commentators, who are actually, and they are not the ones who are treating this like it's real boxing? Like, Ray Flores tried a little bit, and Al Bernstein tried a little bit, but they just completely bought into the whole, we're just here to have a good time and not actually act like these fights here are real official sanctioned fights.
Who is that weird guy with the big blockhead on the end now?
I don't know. I was wondering that too.
I have no
He
idea.
didn't even say that much either.
No, like it's. I'm not going. Oh, this is terrible to box. But people have tried this shit before. You know, Jay-Z tried it when he tried to mix the music with the fights.
HBO tried it when they did. Was it KO Nation?
KO Nation, yeah. We seen this tried before. Like I'm like if they were going for a more relaxed attitude, they failed that. it just to me it just came off as a bunch of guys trying to grab as much money as they can before the shit blows up. You know,
to me
that's
it looks like somebody had like looked at like, okay, well, what made Jake Paul popular? They're like, okay, let's just do that for 4 hours or however long the broadcast was, and try to like get like YouTube clout.
But they don't.
If you ever watch YouTube,
Jake Paul popular, you know.
Well, I mean, Jake Paul that's popular the thing.
Is fucking Disney.
That's look. They tried to take the model of what goes viral, and that's really what it all boiled down to me is like, okay, everything about this event is trying to get viral moments and viral clips.
But this is what pisses me off about these people. Like, well, you know, you got to build your brand. They act like these guys are fucking, they're naturals. They weren't. These guys are products of fucking massive media companies. You know, there were thousands upon thousands of fucking Jake Pauls out there, and he's the one that survived. You know, there's a handful of these guys, and you saw when Disney bought that Maker Studios or whatever, they had to write it down. You know, after 2 years, it's like, well, wait, this is all fucking bullshit, smoke and mirrors. You know, and so they just sort of cobbled together the few people that survived and actually worked. You know, and that's what it is when people go, oh man, see, pay attention, boxers. This is how you build your fucking brand. You're looking at the one guy, you know, like there's like a handful of YouTube people that actually fucking matter. You know, there's a lot of like there's big guys with millions of followers, but most people don't give a shit. You know, most of these guys are in studios. They spend most of their money that, you know, people say, oh, they make so much money. Most of that's spent on production because they got to hire an entire fucking staff to constantly do this stuff. They jump from fucking drama to drama to, you know, and good on Jake that boxing he found his new thing because he tried rap. He tried fucking, you know, prank videos. He tried everything, let's play videos. These guys are constantly scrambling to keep themselves relevant. And then people you see in boxing going, oh man, look how great they are. Production. It's like, this is why these people are fucking dumb. And it annoys the piss out of me when they attack fans who give a shit about business. It's like, I know how these fucking people got popular. And it's from fucking a bunch of companies losing fucking hundreds of millions of dollars. And they've got a couple guys that are popular out of that.
Well,
you know?
If you really think about it, like the funny thing is the whole boxing take note movement, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you know, look at what Jake Paul did and do what he did because it would help the sport. And it absolutely would not, because you have to realize that you touched on a little bit of it, but like really if we just look at what Jake Paul's done, and remember the context here is, well, how could a fighter do what Jake Paul's done so that they can also be as popular? Because let's be real here. If you look at somebody like Regis Prograis, who was on the undercard, Regis Prograis can talk. He can talk. Jake Paul can talk his ass off. Like, make no mistake about it. The guy's successful for a reason. Okay. And Regis Prograis can do that too. But the difference is that Jake Paul has worked his ass off to get to where he's at as a YouTuber. And what that requires is doing a bunch of stuff that would make him better for YouTube and better as like whatever level celebrity he has. You know what Regis Prograis has to do? He's got to train.
Yeah, he's got to fucking go to the gym.
There, like Jake Paul has maybe the skill level at what he does. That the same level of skill he has is probably like the same level of skill that Regis Prograis has in a boxing ring, which is to say, Jake Paul's a celebrity. He's not the biggest celebrity in the world. He's not the biggest earner in the world, but he's
the biggest YouTuber.
But he's up there, and he's in a conversation, and that's
no
the
PewDiePie.
thing. You can't. You just can't be that way. Like Ryan Garcia is an interesting one where he's somehow been able to bridge the two. But how many have done that? There's literally one so far. And
Virgil
so
Ortiz is bigger than Ryan Garcia at the gate.
now that's a different thing though. Like, has that translated so
Yeah.
far?
See, so don't
No.
give me this fucking bullshit about, they got to build up their YouTube brand. Fuck all. It's just like, pay attention to actually what happens in these fucking guys. These are giant fucking teams. There's not some dude. They aren't live streaming, even live streamers now. And this is the weird thing too, where people talk about, oh, we'll see Jake Paul's this popular. His fans aren't live stream fans. So all these bullshit numbers that are now always come out after all their events about how hugely popular they are. Their fans, no one gives a fuck about what Jake Paul's doing this moment. They watch him because he's post-production. He's not like, Summit 1G or Shroud or Ninja, those guys who are actual live streamers. XQC that gets 100,000 concurrent viewers at any one time when he streams. They aren't these guys. No one's tuning in live to watch what Jake Paul's doing up there. And they tried to be live streamers because Twitch sort of pulled them over for a while. They paid them and they fucking all bombed because they don't have personalities to be live. They're really bad at it. If you've ever seen them go extended periods having to talk live, they're kind of horrible at being personalities. They're really good at being produced personalities. So fucking see. Boxing had one of the greatest fucking promoters before, and as a boxer. His name was Floyd Mayweather. And what did fucking boxing do? All the pundits shit on him that he wasn't really popular for fucking years. So I don't know. That's what it fucking annoys me.
I mean, when you have somebody like Chris Mannix who has just changed the line of whether or not social media following matters, when it did, but then it didn't, and now it does again, and then it doesn't again because Jake Paul's not fighting on the platform that employs him.
Yeah, but now he sucks.
but the thing is, like, the numbers will tell you, and not the numbers that they're lying about, which they say 1.6 million buys or whatever it was. There's no shot that was actually true.
Yeah, suddenly Fight TV has fucking a bigger infrastructure than Twitch. Like, where'd that come from?
So, anyway, let's talk about Oscar De La Hoya on commentary. That was maybe, like, if we look at everything we've seen in the past 12 months on TV for boxing, that's got to be the worst thing you've seen, right?
That was actually, it made me sad. It actually was depressing. I know a lot of people found it funny. I didn't, because I used to be a fucking huge Oscar fan. This dude was set up for fucking success as a boxer, as a promoter, and he's just, it's fucking sad. Here's this dude who he became one of the biggest. He went from being one of the biggest boxers to being one of the biggest promoters to now promoting a fight on fucking Triller, and he's drunk and high out of his fucking mind. A dude with massive substance abuse problems, who's now pretending he doesn't have any. He fucked up his career with his cocaine and booze. He fucked up his promotion with cocaine and booze. And now he's going back into the ring. And that's a weird thing. Yeah, okay, it's fucking hilarious to see Oscar out of his fucking mind. But he's also going back to fight, And this is where the boxing Twitter annoyed the fuck out of me, because these are the same people that sit there and they always cry about when boxers get hurt and, oh my God, the sport, it's so tough to be a fan. And then yet they're laughing about this guy who's going back into boxing. Oh, look how funny Oscar is. And they're not saying, what the fuck? Why are they even letting Oscar anywhere near this? I said this before, Oscar has no adults around him anymore. Everyone around him is just a fucking leeching on him for money, because he's keeping the fucking show going, and no one has the fucking balls after all the money they've gotten out of Oscar to say, hey, Oscar, you have a fucking problem and you got to take care of it. That's what really fucking got to me, because, Oscar could have been, a major figure, and now he's just a big fucking joke. And he's so deluded. This is the delusion that Oscar's always had throughout his career. That fighter mentality of being the best. Oscar turned that into delusion, and it's just motherfuckers. He's just me, and I'm a dude who turned a Twitter gimmick into being drunk, and saying dumb shit. I never show up to work drunk, and that's essentially what Oscar's doing. He's showing up to work fucking out of his mind. And people are just laughing, going, "Oh, Oscar, that was fucking awesome." No, it wasn't. This dude could have had $100 million from PBC to be the face of PBC, like what Tom Goosen's doing now. Sure, he wouldn't be making the top money anymore, but he'd still be Oscar. Still would have been the Golden Boy brand. Oscar and Richard Schaefer working together, putting on the events, being the front people, getting out there. Oscar be his face out there, getting the respect, still acting like, yeah, he's the man. And he's like, no, they're stealing it away from me. And now look at him. He's got nothing. Dazin stole fucking Canelo off him, by not funding him for the very same fights that they're putting on now. And Oscar's actually trying to make better fights than the fucking shit that Dazin's paying for now. And so that's why I didn't find it funny. It's fucking depressing.
Yeah, Oscar is clearly not in a good place. And it's like, this is a serial thing. We've seen this happen before. If you remember back in 2013, before Canelo's biggest fight of his career with Floyd Mayweather, Oscar just disappeared midway through the promotion. He had to check himself into rehab.
Yeah. Because
the guy has a problem. And maybe it was exploitative last night to keep him on commentary, but at the same time, like, the whole commentary team was drinking. And like, I get that's what they were going for. We want a loose sort of production where the guys are just saying what they feel and all that stuff. But it's I don't know. You got to understand what you're dealing with there. And it's not their job to be the adult in Oscar's life. But my God, that was just really embarrassing.
But I would argue against that because a lot of those guys are taking money from Oscar. Mario Lopez gets a lot of money from Oscar for doing like his fucking podcasts and shows here and there. He's got a lot of money out of it. So at some point, other guys like Steve Kim, the whole fucking Ring employees, at some point if I had a boss who was fucked up all the time, I wouldn't just sit there and keep taking the money and wait until it blows up. You got to have some fucking sympathy for the dude and say, hey, you're really fucking up. But that's it. There's no adults anywhere in Golden Boy anymore.
Well,
all the guys, remember, like, and this is Oscar vilified Richard Schaefer, and this is the shit Richard Schaefer was having to put up with when he's trying to put on fucking, pay-per-views where there's like $100 million on the fucking line. And this is what he's dealing with, and so that's what fucking annoys me too, is that everyone's laughing. A lot of the pundits who pushed that whole Al Heyman's the devil fucking line when Oscar was saying it are now laughing at it. It's like, what? It's fucking embarrassing for all of it. But going forward, I am going to goof on Oscar. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite myself, But last night, the fan of me, the old Oscar fan of me, just found it really fucking depressing, because it's just like, Jesus Christ, Oscar, you've been fucking up. He fucked up his boxing career by, he fucked up everything by being high, At some point, it stops being fucking fun, Yeah,
I don't have anything else to say. That I just thought it was embarrassing. Yeah. The fights themselves, I don't know if it was because the commentary was not very engaged, but all the fights last night were just poor. The Prograis fight, which should have been a solid one, it just was flat the whole time. And that commentary was more distracting. And that's why I kind of came to the conclusion that I did about the commentary, where the commentary was actually the focus. That's the product, not the fight. Because the fight seemed to be in the background of the reaction that they were trying to get out of having that commentary team. And the Prograis fight should have been good, but it wound up being what I thought was completely forgettable. And then to top it off,
it wasn't forgettable at fucking all. Ivan Redcatch took a dive.
Well, I was getting to that point. And then we get to the end where, if Prograde would have knocked him out, it would not have been as significant as seeing Red Cat. He did get hit with a couple of low blows at some point during the round, but then on a shot that did not hit anywhere near the genitals. Maybe the wrist hit his side, but your side
No,
is not
it
where a
didn't
low
even.
blow is.
It cuffed it. Prograde's right hand curled into
That's what I'm saying.
Red
Maybe his
Catch's body.
wrist
No,
hit
because
his side.
Yeah,
but
Red Catch's
the
fucking
punch
left
didn't
arm
land.
was there. No, it didn't land. Nothing landed.
No, his wrist certainly landed on him. They made contact with each other. I'm trying to say that there was some sort of contact that was like wrist to side or something. But there was no. It was not a punch. There was no punch connection that you know what you normally think of as a punch. That did not happen, and it was nowhere near the low blow area. But Prograde goes down to the ground.
Prograde is channeling his chi energy or some shit. That whole thing was fucking suspect.
I've never heard of this, okay? But it's possible. I've heard of left hooks to the body having a delayed effect. I never heard of that happening on the low blow. But maybe we were on a 15-second delay because I can't explain what we saw.
I could easily explain it. The motherfucker took a dive. They better shake the boxing bets to see who bet on a KO for Prograde, because I'm pretty sure Ivan Red Catch probably laid down a lot of fucking bets on that, because that was it. Prograde, to me, the fight didn't look like Red Catch was really getting hurt either. It looked like, to me, that fight looked like it was going the distance. No one was really hitting each with bombs. Prograde had a couple shots, but he's not a big monster. And then suddenly he throws his fucking punch that doesn't land, and you thought someone fucking shot Red Catch in the balls or something. And that was, and now you see this is the problem. So the whole thing with Triller is that they're trying to do the Eddie Hearn shit, where you just buy any voice that might point out how shitty your stuff is, because no one is talking about how Ivan Red Catch took a fucking dive. And these are the same people you'll see on boxing Twitter and punditry, and whatever. Everyone's got their outlet, just like us. They'll constantly rant about judges' scorecards and shit, and there's silence on Ivan Red Catch taking a fucking dive. And it's just like, what the fuck's going on, people? Because that was clearly a fucking dive. There's no way you could say it wasn't a fucking dive to me.
I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what he was doing. Even if you're going to take a dive, no one's ever gotten knocked out and cried in the ring.
Yeah. This is a dude. And remember, he just came off a year suspension
for biting
Danny Garcia.
There's really nothing else he could say. Like, Red Cat, I don't want to accuse him of taking a dive, but at the same time, I don't know what else to call it.
There's no way that was a fucking dive. Like, what did he get hit with?
The only thing is okay, well, I guess I could say good job on you, Red Cat, because you showed up, you took a few punches, you danced around for a little while, and you got paid. I mean,
what did he make, $500,000 or something on that?
I don't know what he made, but they overpaid.
They paid fucking, and I'm pissed that Tom wasn't on, because he was pumping, hey, Prograde's, he's turning it around.
Tom was super mad at the commentary because he's like, I can't watch this fight with this commentary. And I'm like, yeah, well, what do you expect?
Oh, that was entertaining though. That fucking dive.
Do you think that they're actually committed to the sport, like Triller on the whole?
No.
Or
no.
how long do we got before?
I think the wheels start to fall off. Well, see, this is the thing. And this is why the wheels might not fall off, because just like Dazen, with the way the business world is now, with interest rates so low, there is so much money out there where people are trying to find a yield into anything. Bullshit like Triller can get funding forever almost. they'll really have to start fucking up for this to impact. So even something like Teofimo Lopez, which is probably going to bomb fucking hard, but of course they'll claim probably like 18 million pay-per-view buys. That's not going to hurt them because they've got so much fucking dumb money out behind them. And that's what it is, dumb money. And this is what's weird. They're funding Triller. None of this shit's on Triller. Now this is Fight TV where they want to pretend that Fight TV went from fucking broadcasting regional fucking wrestling, like Division 1 wrestling, not even fucking, WWE type wrestling. These guys are like broadcasting low level fucking cards to now they're saying that they can handle 2 million pay-per-view buys. Like, fuck off. It just doesn't work. I don't know. Take a fucking computing course or something, They are. Twitch starts to buckle, at 300,000 concurrent viewers. And that's fucking Twitch. They're huge. Fight TV isn't. Everything about it is fucking fun. So, but they don't give a shit about boxing. They see this as this again is a hangover effect from Floyd versus Conor, where it's sold, so that's what they're pushing again. We can do it, just like DAZN tried it, with their YouTube things. And this is why the whole Jake Paul shit we know is bullshit, because they had 4 of these fucking YouTube dudes on, and they couldn't even break 1 million at the gate. And that's before pandemic. That's in LA. That's it. They sold 9,000 fucking tickets. So don't hit me with this fucking, these guys are massively popular. And Peter Khan even said, he came out and said that the fucking Paul shit on DAZN was a flop. Even after all, it's huge. These guys are huge. This is what boxing should take. And you got this guy coming up. Hey, they didn't do it too good. We think we can do it better, but
you have a service that was so desperate for a big win, so desperate for something that could deliver for them because their subscriber numbers are still paltry, and it made no impact to have these YouTubers on. And I think they're lying about the numbers right now. They're reporting it's like 1.5. Which is absolutely insane that it didn't do anywhere near that. Now, how do I know that? Because it's like, well, it's my word against theirs. Yeah. But the only difference is I'm only calling out and I'm skeptical because Triller's been accused numerous times for inflating numbers.
Yeah. So Billboard did a whole article on it and they didn't deny it.
Who's just pointing out that they are like they have a history of inflating their numbers, or do you actually believe the same people who the people who are reporting it, by the way, are a lot of the people, at least, are people that clearly were given money by Triller before the fight to pump the fight up. Clearly.
Michael Woods had an affiliate link for the fight.
As did Mike Coppinger.
Well, Coppinger's working. But Michael Woods is also the one that led off with they sold 1.5 million. It's like that's how shitty boxing writing is that these guys with affiliate fucking links are now also getting to put out articles about this shit. It's just like fucking you guys they have no fucking credibility.
Okay, well, let's move on.
They're making fucking IFL TV look legitimate. It's fucking sad.
Let's move on from all this Triller stuff and get into the fights from the weekend that actually mattered.
You didn't even talk about the main event.
What is there to talk about? Jake Paul has insane power. He will knock out Tyson Fury. He will knock out Anthony Joshua, and he'll steal their girls. Like, what is there to say, guys? He's a novice.
Yeah, but see, this is what I enjoyed is that you show what even like a weekend warrior in boxing can do. Like Ben Askren was a professional MMA fighter, for what, I don't know, fucking a long time. He's old ass. he gets dropped. The fight was funny because Jake Paul, that delivery, it was a classic setup, left, right hand. But that right hand fucking took about, 2 years to fucking land. And Ben Askren couldn't react to it in time. So I found that hilarious. I did enjoy that moment,
The thing that's funny is you have a guy in Jake Paul who's trained for like 2 years now in
Yeah.
boxing. So, he's actually like not just like a YouTuber like that just decided to pick up boxing. It's like, no, no, no. He's actually like
He's putting in the work, yeah.
yeah, like he's a professional boxer now. And
Yeah.
having what does he have? Like 2, 3 professional fights so far?
This is his third.
That doesn't say too much about him, but he's actually training. He's obviously got very good trainers and stuff like that to teach him how to box. And
Okay, so,
how
but
did Ben Askren look that bad as a former world champion in the UFC? Like, my God,
well, he wasn't champion UFC. He was in one.
whatever.
He was always the big. If they could only get Ben Askren, but he got frozen out because he didn't get along with their old ball buster Silva of the guy who basically cracked the whip on all the fighters. He didn't get along with Askren, so he never got signed. But he was always the big hope. Oh man, he was the best fighter not in the UFC, and then he got in the UFC and he got knocked the fuck out.
I mean, he looked terrible to me. I mean, it's probably because he didn't train whatsoever. I mean, you look at his body; it's like he has not done it. And the only training he did was when they shot the promotional stuff.
Yeah. He came in lumpy, and that's the one thing with Paul. At least Jake Paul, he's training, and he's a big fucking kid. Dude's like what 6'2" or something, 6 foot 6'2".
I don't know how big he is.
Yeah, like he's not like a tiny guy. So if you get hit by a guy who's putting in some kind of boxing training, he's showing you're gonna get knocked the fuck out. But what I did hate is that people are like, his fights aren't that far off of what most prospects do. Like, come the fuck on. He fought a guy who opened up FIFA packs on YouTube in his debut. There's some shitty fucking, low level boxers, but a lot of those guys are the same level as Jake Paul. They've taken the training. So maybe give those prospects a bunch of fucking, retired basketball players to fucking start their careers off with.
All right, there's not much else to talk about here. Let's move on to
production was shitty though too. I want to point that out.
Yeah,
they've got really
talk for
weird,
a few hours on the things that they got wrong.
But it's weird because they got so much money and yet the audio is always fucking fading in and out and dropping. It's just fucking terrible.
Well, that's the thing. Like you need production is not live production is insanely difficult. And there's a reason why, Netflix is not getting into showing boxing. It's like, no, you need to hire legit professionals. There's a lot of things that go into doing live programming. Yeah. Okay. Demetrius Andrade, he returned and he had what should have been or at least I think was a routine defense of his WBO title against Liam Williams. Andrade got a pretty wide decision. Williams maybe took 2 or 3 rounds of the fight. Andrade might have been hurt like twice, maybe 3 times in the fight, but he also managed to drop Liam Williams in the second and hit Liam Williams with like the most obvious uppercut like counter probably like 45 times in the fight, which speaks a lot to the skill level of one Liam Williams. So let me ask you this question. Were you impressed with what you saw from Demetrius?
No. It was a typical Andrade fight. He tries for the first couple rounds, and then he looks for the fucking decision, And but no, he's awful. He's really awful.
I mean, I don't know if I'll go that far. Ben Askren is awful.
No, I'm saying he's awful for a world champion. Demetrius Andrade, he's a talented fighter, skilled fighter, but he's nowhere near as good as fucking Chris Mannix thinks he is.
No, Chris Mannix. Well,
he's pushing.
Actually, I'm not going to say my thoughts on Chris Mannix. It's
like like this is it. If Demetrius Andrade got a fight with Jamal Charlo, he would get hurt with his fucking nonsense that he's on now. He's fucking tying up Liam Williams, for fuck's sakes.
Liam Williams isn't the cleanest.
But Liam Williams is fucking awful.
I've never seen a fighter move their head less.
Yeah. It's like Eddie Hearn's clearing out any trash fucking fighter that he can get from, the UK and Europe. And he's getting money from DAZN to do this, And then the best part about that fight was fucking whatever the fuck Andrade was doing in the post-fight interview.
I don't know, but I will say, like, Andrade has moments where it's like, oh, okay, he's got some skills. You know, that uppercut counter that he was landing was really nice. You don't see too many fighters that are able to land that shot like the way he did and then continue to go to it. I mean, a lot of fighters just don't have the confidence to throw that shot because it does leave you open. And you could also attribute that to the fact that Liam Williams literally had no head movement. But at the same time, like, I gotta give Andrade, like, there are things that he does very well. He uses his length pretty well, but like you said, he checks out of fights really, or he loses focus. The way it occurs for me is like he's a guy that he can do a lot of things. I don't think that there's anything in the ring that Andrade can't do or can't accomplish. But the issue that he has is I feel like he just never knows what he wants to do. And then he will find something and then just stick to it over and over again, whether it's like working or not. And clearly yesterday you could see he was committed to that uppercut. He thought he was going to knock Liam Williams out with that shot. And at the expense of doing other things that might have helped set up a knockout, he instead just kept spamming it and coasted to a decision. Let me ask you this question because you brought up Jamal Charlo, but I mean, I think we all can acknowledge and understand and know because we are not crazy people, but that's a fight that's not that is a fight that's difficult to make. And as much as people like Chris Mannix want to cry about it and all that stuff, and I'll talk about that in a bit, but an easier fight to make would be Gennady Golovkin. Golovkin is clearly not the same guy that we've seen over the years. He's not the great Golovkin that nearly broke the middleweight record for regular title defenses. But still, Golovkin has shown that there is some power behind those fists. So what do you think? If they were to make the fight, and for whatever reason they're not pushing to make the fight, but if they were, Andrade versus Golovkin, how do you see that fight going?
I don't think Golovkin's faded enough to the point where he'd have trouble.
Trouble? You think trouble? So you think that like Andrade wouldn't even trouble him?
Andrade, he could move around him a lot, but he can't land. Like see, that's the thing with Andrade. Like I said, he is a very skilled boxer, but this is the same shit we've seen from him since we saw 10 years ago from Andrade. He was good then at using his fucking length and distance, but he's fighting even worse guys. So of course he's going to look really good.
It seems like
fuck was that?
It's a car.
Oh,
it seems like Andrade might be a little bit of a front runner.
Yeah, but like I said, that's how his fights go. He comes out with power, and you go, "Oh my god, he's finally going to try to end the fight," and then he just hits that point where he's, "Oh, well, this is too tough. I'm just going to coast now." And then he's got the talent to coast. But no. See, that's tough because Golovkin is looking really fucking bad,
And if there's one thing I think Golovkin would really struggle with, it's a guy who's moving around the ring a lot.
Yeah.
Like, and Andrade can do that.
But Andrade's not going to throw like Derevianchenko did. Like we said,
Derevianchenko just took the fight to Golovkin.
Yeah. And see, that's it. Like he was using a lot of movement and he was getting Golovkin spun around. So Andrade could do that, but Andrade wouldn't throw the same type of punches that would make Golovkin react to his movement. It's tough. Like that's the thing. I think I'm right in the middle of that because I know Golovkin's really fucking faded,
Yeah.
And I know Andrade isn't. He can still move, but I don't think he'd commit with his punches enough. It'd be an interesting fight, but they won't make the fucking thing. They're both signed with Eddie. Eddie's not making his own fucking fights. He's clout chasing, as Jamal points out. Yeah.
Well, let me speak on that because this is one of the things that really annoys me. Like not just in the situation, but in all of boxing.
Yeah.
You have a promoter like Eddie Hearn come out, and Eddie Hearn is one of the worst things, I think, one of the best and worst things that's happened to boxing. I think he's definitely done a very good job in, the way he's promoted the UK and got a lot of guys these opportunities and all this stuff. That's all well and good.
Yep.
But the culture around him has gotten, it's just so terrible. And like one of the things that, like, the narrative, like, if you guys didn't catch this, but the actual narrative from what they wanted you to think after the fight was that Andrade's issue is that Jermall Charlo doesn't want to fight him. Okay. Now, that, like, if we just take the essence of it, that's what it is. They're trying to tell you that Jermall Charlo doesn't want to fight him, which is not true, which is not based in reality, but there's a purpose there. But it also is kind of counterintuitive, because what it is an admission of, like, what we're presenting to you is fucking shit, and we know you don't want to see it.
Yeah.
So why don't we shift the blame outside of us, because we can't do anything wrong? It's the people over there. It's X, Y, and Z who don't want to fight. And it's like, no, bro, why don't you fucking promote? Why don't you get the guys that are signed to you and say, hey, guys, you got to fight each other?
Yeah,
look at what PBC is doing at 154. Jermell Charlo, well, let's just look at the lineage of the titles there. It's like Jarrett Hurd beats Lara. Hurd goes to fight J-Rock. J-Rock whoops him. So then he goes to fight Jason Rosario. Jason Rosario stomps him out. What happens next? Jermell Charlo, who is already a champion in the division, he's got to fight Jason Rosario. He smokes Rosario. Castano went over and got the title from Teixeira, and they brought Castano back, and they said, hello, you are now going to fight Jermell Charlo.
Yeah.
And that's because they have all the resources in-house. Now, I understand that there, if let's say Castano was aligned somewhere else, it would have been more difficult. But you don't have that excuse. You got some real dogs at middleweight that they got over there. You got Jacobs possibly who can come down to 160 if the price is right. But you have two, like, top tier middleweights in Andrade and Golovkin. You got to make that work somehow.
Andrade was their very first signing for Matchroom USA. And then afterwards, they signed Canelo, who at the time was fighting at 160. They signed Golovkin, 160.
Jacobs was already tied because he had the Matchroom USA deal already.
Yeah, but exactly. But no, Jacobs signed after Canelo.
Well, no, he was already with Matchroom because of the HBO deal.
Was he?
Yeah. Remember, they announced that on the Luke Campbell, Jorge Linares undercard, because I was there.
That one. Because Canelo's claim was that he wasn't signed to DAZN.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, Jacob signed with DAZN. That's what I'm thinking of. He was signed with Matchroom, but he wasn't signed with DAZN. Yeah. But anyway, so they add all these fucking middleweights, and then they got Andrade, and then they almost did the Billy Joe Saunders fight. So, okay, props to that. Andrade could have fucking saved the world from that if it wasn't for Billy Joe and his fucking, nostril fucking shit.
But how do you follow that up with Luke Keeler?
Yeah, but then that's it. And then it's like, why isn't Charlo fight him? Why isn't Charlo fight him? Because fucking Andrade dropped out of a fight a week before it was supposed to happen. That's why. And he's like, fuck this guy. I'm not going to fucking do a fight with him again.
Well, that was with Jermell.
Yeah, but
I mean, the point is, like, okay, he's not very reliable.
He pissed two Charlos off. That's it. Like, he dropped out of the fight with Jermell. They're not going to give him the fucking fight.
Well, but then there's the other thing of, like, he had the option to go and sign a deal with Showtime. Showtime was courting on Andrade with the goal of matching him up with Jermall Charlo. And Andrade said it on Chris Mannix's podcast, like, Showtime's not going to pay me to fight the Luke Keelers of the world. Yeah. And that's absolutely true. Showtime's going to be like, no, Luke Keeler, that's like, we're willing to go one level below. You went 4. We can't do that. All right. Yeah. We'll show mismatches, and we do show mismatches, but not of that level. Come on now.
Well, but that's it. And, Eddie's trying to goof on Montiel, who's Jermall's fighter. But it's like, what the fuck? You just put on a fight with fucking Liam Williams. Ugh, I can't. Yeah. It's good for Andrade because he's making, $3 million a fight, I think. Fight this trash. So it's very good for him. He finally got, after fucking up his career, like, he could have been dead in the water forever. So good on him that he's recovered, but just stop with the fucking nonsense, It's just they don't want Jamal. They want Jamal to sign with the Zone, obviously, but he's not going to do that. Why the fuck would he do that? They got loyalty to Al, and Al has loyalty to Showtime and Fox and whoever else will pay him. So that's it. They're like, no, Fox is promoting us, Showtime's promoting us. That's who they stick with.
So
they're not
I
going
mean,
to
but
own Eddie. Nonsense.
See, it's just this level of promotion that I can't stand, where promoters promote their fighters by saying X, Y, and Z are avoiding them. It's like, no, motherfucker, that is not it.
Well, Eddie's been a massive failure in the U.S.
But why do you take this like real just loser approach? And that's what it is. Like you got a loser's mentality.
Because now they're retreating. Eddie's done this since he fucked up in the U.S. and for some reason the Zone's still giving him money. But now he's trying to sell to the UK crowd. So now that's all he gives a shit about is fucking going back and feeding
UK don't care about Andrade or Charlo for that reason, or for that.
They love shitting on people that aren't in the UK. So that's all he cares about. Eddie knows how to service his fucking home fans. The only problem is now he's bringing all these guys that he built up in the UK, and they're getting fucking demolished. Like embarrassingly so. Like Canelo is going to fucking severely hurt Billy Joe Saunders unless Saunders just spends the entire fight staying away from him.
He's going to spend the entire fight staying away from him.
Yeah, but I think Canelo is at the point where he can track you down now. This isn't old school Canelo where he didn't like moving very much. This is a new Canelo. He's going to fucking get him. And then he's going to blow apart yet another myth that, this guy has some fucking, the Josh Kelly myth.
I think the best course of action is they really should look to make that Andrade and Golovkin fight.
Yeah, but they have no fucking interest in it.
I understand that they have no interest in it, but
Eddie doesn't want to match his own fucking guys. And he's even said that, he said, oh, PBC is holding things up. What the fuck? You got Golovkin there. He's not doing anything. You make the fucking fight. And Canelo just said, he's not fighting Andrade because he's boring.
Yeah. I actually don't think Andrade's that boring. I've seen far more boring fighters.
I do, because he could do it. It's like when Lara wouldn't stay and land those extra 2 punches that he could very easily do. When
That's
Lara
fair.
still had his
That's
leg.
fair.
Lara could have landed those extra 2 punches. That's all he needed. He still could have got out, but he would have been more action and he would have been good. But he played it way too safe. And that's what I feel with Andrade. He plays it safe. He like I said, now he pushes at the start. Can I get this guy out? No, I'm gonna fucking just retreat and I'm gonna play it safe.
Yeah,
and like I said, he's got a lot more talent, but I call him awful because he's not using that talent to push anything.
I don't got anything else to say here. I do hope that they make that Golovkin fight, though. Golovkin's not going to get another Canelo fight, as far as I can tell. No. So you might as well do something or just retire, because I think he's sticking around. I think at this point for Canelo.
I think Andrade would be an interesting fight.
Yeah. Moving on to the Fox card, we had Tony Harrison. He ended a 16-month layoff, and he fought Bryant Perrella to a draw. Yeah. Were you shocked at the outcome for this one?
No.
Why not?
Because Harrison's not exactly a spring chicken. He's coming off a long layoff. He lost his father, who was his big trainer. And
he had COVID.
He had COVID. And also when he beat, Charlo, it's not like he fucking completely destroyed this dude. Like he eked out a decision that, was kind of up in the air. He was always, and then, in the rematch, he got iced. So, coming back from getting your ass beat, it's tough. So he had all these things on piling. So yeah, you can see it. The guy can be shaky. I don't think he's a world beater. Like he's been beaten by a lot. He's had losses before. So I think his story is good, but you can't confuse a fighter's story with his skill.
And then the other side of it, I think Bryant Perrella is a guy who's been a bit misunderstood. I think he's better than people realize, but I mean that was pre-fight, better than people realize. He's obviously not like at the welterweight division. He's not gonna give Errol Spence a run, but he might make things interesting for a few rounds. And so, but he moved up to 154, where apparently he was doing a lot to try to stay at 147. That was, not exactly detrimental, but it wasn't good. And now he goes to 154, where he looks a lot bigger, he looks stronger. And I think this was just a really bad style matchup for Harrison. I think it was a good matchup to put on TV because you got a competitive fight. But if, as far as like, oh, do we want Tony Harrison to get a showcase here? Which is what so many people thought it was. And that's because people are very cynical about matchups where they don't necessarily like them. They're cynical about why it is that they're making them. But the reality was you got a very competitive and compelling matchup between two somewhat similar styles. And I think the draw was fair. Tony Harrison, to me, looked really flat in the fight. And there were about 4 or 5 rounds in the middle of the fight where it looked like Tony Harrison just had no starch on anything. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, are these the effects of COVID that he's feeling right now? Like, because he ain't throwing with nothing. There's nothing on these punches right now. He looked like Vito Melnicki.
Or Vito.
Yeah. So I don't know where either guy goes from here. I don't necessarily know that a rematch is smart, but yeah, I don't have anything else to say. This was not the most entertaining card on Fox. Omar Juarez is he got a really nice win. He's on the rise. Didn't really turn it on until late in that fight. And then Vito Melnicki losing a fight in which he had no interest in winning. I mean, it's almost like he had to leave Joe Goossen's camp because, I don't know, maybe he wanted to do things that would have him come out and be flat in fights.
Well, see, you got to credit you. You didn't really buy into this whole story. Well, you sort of questioned his desire. I think is what you were going for.
Yeah. Well, no. If I remember correctly, and somebody will correct me on this because, of course, I can never be wrong about anything. But I said that I first questioned if you bought the excuse that they gave where he was homesick. And I really wanted to believe that that was the case because, I was 18 once. And of course, like when I first got my first taste of freedom away from home, of course, the first thing I wanted to do was come crying home because I missed it, which I'm being sarcastic right now. If you're 18 years old and you're off on your own and, you're a professional fighter,
California is kind of a depressing place to be, though.
In California. And, I maybe made a joke about a scene in The Godfather when Michael's like, you slap my brother around? You slap my brother around? Because, Fredo was banging cocktail waitresses 2 at a time. I thought, well,
yeah,
maybe
Mo Green had to put him in his place.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't slap Michael Corleone's brother around. Well, I thought maybe we had a little situation like that where, maybe young Vito was having a little too good of a time out in LA. And I can't blame him if he was as an 18-year-old with his first taste of freedom. But his first fight back in New Jersey, he won and he's got his second fight and he looked 100% flat. And like, I don't really want to talk about this too much more because it's like, look, an 18, 19-year-old kid who just graduated high school lost a pro fight. Okay,
18.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's a case of maybe it's a lot for an 18-year-old to fucking handle, Well, he's starting to get the buzz. Like he seems to have a pretty good head on his shoulders, but that's just it. He's flat, wasn't really listening to his corner. So it happens. But that's it. It's like the guy's fucking 18. Not every fighter has to be undefeated. So it's obviously a bump in the road, but again, he's 18 fucking years old. This dude's trying to step up as fast as he can. And that was it. He's stepping up to experienced dude. So you got to give him that. It's not like he got his ass fucking destroyed. It's not like he got iced. So yeah, poor Vito. I think he can still be a force. If he just sort of steps back, sort of figures out what exactly happened. If he's just getting too distracted. I don't know if he's taking a dive for some family interests.
I will say this, and I've said this since 2018, when ESPN Plus, when Top Rank announced like the 54 dates a year on ESPN, we knew about the upcoming Fox PBC schedule. We knew that we had HBO, and then there was streaming services coming into the mix. I said there's way too much fucking boxing on TV, way too much.
Yeah.
This is not going to be good. We are going to get a complete overexposure on the sport. Matchups will suck. And we're seeing that. And like, look, I don't have any issue with Vito Melnicki. I think he's a good prospect, but in terms of he's going to be the poster child here from what I'm saying, which is like, this is overexposure. You do not need to see these fights. You're not supposed to. This is, I think you said it when I was talking about this one time, and I think you said this is the sausage getting made part of boxing. You don't want to see this part. You don't want to see these young kids, unless
yes and no, because a lot of Floyd's early fights were on fucking televised, and you wanted to see those. But yeah, it's. I think it's that this dude was fucking fighting pro in high school.
Well,
so you might have to slow down a bit on him.
If you want to see this level of fight, and there are people like me who want to see this level of fight, you should have to go seek it out. It should be available to you, but don't put it in the marquee is my thing. And we've had everyone guilty of this. Everyone is guilty of this.
Yeah.
PBC, Top Rank, and all the other dudes, they are guilty of putting shit in the marquee because you know what? They have so many dates to fulfill that they can't deliver like actual things that belong in the marquee. And maybe I'm just holding this to a standard that I shouldn't. And this is the evolution of boxing because it's getting more popular in the mainstream, which maybe, probably not. Sure, okay.
But this is what people always wanted. They go, we need more boxing. We need more boxing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But again, this also sort of kills the big myth that prospects aren't match tough.
No.
They're trying to shake out Vito, see what he's got. And they found a fucking issue with him. So now it's like, now you got to try to work this dude out. Hey, fucking B-Hop started with a loss to his career. It didn't hurt him.
Okay, let's move on. We got news to talk about. And the big news for the week was that PBC rolled out at long last some fight announcements. We got 9 cards announced. We already did a podcast on this on our Patreon where we fully went through the whole thing. We talked about what we like, what we don't like, and a whole bunch of other things we talked about. So if you want to go listen to that like fully, patreon.com/SundayPuncher. Now, what do you think about the rollout? Were there any fights that really stuck out for you that like just got your juices flowing?
I don't know, because I'm kind of fucking old and bitter about everything. But the Jermell fight really stands out for me.
You got, and I talked about that earlier, but Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano are going to unify all 4 titles at the 154-pound division.
Yeah.
What do you think about Tank's fight? He's fighting a big boy at 140, and he's a little guy at 130.
Yes. This is Floyd as a promoter. This is what he's puts his guys through. He's like, you want to be the best? Well, we're going to fucking match it tough. And everyone says, Tank had easy fights. He hasn't had fucking easy fights. So now they're stepping him up 140. Can he go? They're putting him at a risk here. Of course, people are suddenly going to think that, this is a gimme fight or something just because it's Tank. It's not. It's like he's stepping up. Everyone else is, he's got to fight fucking Ryan Garcia. He's got to fucking fight Devin Haney. And they're like, nah, we're gonna put him in against a fucking, man-size opponent. He can always come down and fight these guys. So I think it's good. I think it's a really step up for a guy they want to keep on pay-per-view. It's like jump up fast because it's kind of what Floyd did, Once Floyd started getting the bigger fights, he's buzzed right up to fucking 147. He went to where the money was. So yeah, I think it's a really good matchup. But I'm just saying for the Jamel fight, it's because the whole wave was they're not going to make this fight, they're not going to make this fight, and they just fucking boom, it's made. I'm not big on you got to have one champion shit or nothing. But as far as champion, it's like boom, here's Jamel Charlo. The guy, since losing to Tony Harrison, especially, he's on a fucking mission. He's not going to let anyone try to say that he isn't the best at 154. And so now this fight will be, well, as far as champions are, he's got the chance to prove it.
I think it's interesting that the opponent selection here is a guy who has a lot of the same physical dimensions as Ryan Garcia. Big, tall, orthodox fighter with some power. Don't you think that's interesting?
Yeah, but obviously bigger.
Don't you think it's interesting that Ryan Garcia is now fighting his second southpaw in a row?
Yeah, well, that's it. They're obviously, both sides sort of want to make that fight, but it's not going to be on the zone. They're not going to give up that money, and they're also not going to. Neither side is begging for it. I think it's good. For all the chirping about fights, I believe that Tank and Ryan Garcia is one where both sides are like, yeah, let's just we want to make this fight, which is amazing given the old bad blood between, Floyd and fucking Oscar. So
I think that's a fight that it has to get made, and like those fights usually find their way. Jamal Charlo and Demetrius Andrade, you can love or both of them, love one, not love the other, whatever.
No one's looking for that fight.
Exactly. The reason why that fight's not happening, because not enough people care. Yeah. And I'm somebody who loves both of those. Well, I don't love Andrade, but I don't mind him. I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap because he's kind of a little odd, but he's not a bad fighter. Huh?
Odd? What do you mean odd?
Have you never heard him speak? Did you see that post-fight interview?
Yeah.
It was a little bit cringe. But like I'll take that over like the whole say nothing athlete who like just says, I'm out here to do my best and I tried, and I'll take Andrade's weirdness over that any day of the week. I don't give a damn about fighters being humble or anything like that, because we all know what that is implies. But I'll take that. But not enough people want to see that fight.
No. Just like Bud and Spence.
Again, another fight that I don't think enough people want to see.
No, obviously not, because Spence still fucking sells out fucking, crowds. The problem is Bud's got to get more than Top Rank's got to fucking sell him,
More people would want to see Spence fight Jake Paul than Terrence Crawford.
Well,
like that's what it comes down to,
More people will be interested in fucking Ugas than they'll be interested in whoever the fuck Terrence Crawford's fighting next.
Well, you make one assumption there that I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you make one dumb assumption there. So I'm not telling you, but there was a dumb assumption that you made there. All I'm saying is you guys may be surprised.
What, you don't think Spence is fighting Ugas?
We don't have to talk about what I think.
You can't just fucking pretend you got secrets.
Why do we assume that he's fighting Ugas?
Who else is he gonna fucking fight?
Bryant Perrella. I'm kidding, guys. All right. One of the fights that I'm sure that you're, not too keen on, but I think is a great fight, is the Nery Figueroa fight. Someone is gonna get stopped there. Is
I
my
was I
guess.
was gonna praise that one. See, what I like about that, even though I'm not a big fan of these weight classes, what I like is that they also got the future matchup too.
Okay, yeah, that's the thing. I'm really curious about that move there because we don't get that a lot in boxing. We don't get a lot of promises, and the reason why is because a lot of times I think it creates a discussion of like or it compromises the integrity of the qualifying matchup. And but like so you never have fights where we have a promise or a guarantee of who the winners fight or yeah, who the winner's going to fight next. We got it here. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, see, I like it because it's like he's fighting the winner. You know, they're committed. They're not committed to one fighter. They're committed to the winner, and they're like, what? That's another. It's what, 3 belts will be on the line.
Um kind of. So the
Well,
WBC
close
is
enough.
definitely going to be on the line. The WBA quasi is going to be on the line and the WBO is going to be on the line.
Yeah.
So that's technically 3 belts.
See, because it's not like, well, if this fighter gets past this guy and then this fighter gets past this guy, then they'll mix. Like, that's it. It's either going to be Neri or Figueroa. You know, whoever wins is getting that fight. And that's what I like about it. So that's what's different. They're not saying, oh, he's going to fight Figueroa. He just has to get past Neri.
Well,
And then Neri wouldn't get the fight. You know, it's like, boom, whoever the winner is, they're making it. So that's what I liked about it.
my thing is like, are we sure that people care about this?
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if people care about it. I just like as the way they structured it. I like that. And Espinosa's talked about this before, though. He says a lot more fights could be put out there in this type of style, but people just always feel that they gotta not publish what fights they want to make and how they're trying to line guys up. And so this is what I like is that this is I believe Espinosa, this is kind of his vision to say, hey, let the people know what's coming up. You know.
See, part of me thinks that you do this because it's the lighter weight classes and they do need a little bit of help that say the welterweights don't need.
Definitely, yeah.
But the other thing is like I don't know how self-serving this is because I don't necessarily think that it makes any difference to say, oh, and the winner's going to fight this. Like, yeah, it places importance to people who actually keep up with the breaking news of boxing, but that is a very small subsection. I don't know if you saw the report that got put out about like how many people actually like what percentage of people who are like viewers are or I think it was more like what percentage of voices that are actually like the dominant voices in like any Twitter community. And it was like a really small number where it was like, yeah, there's only like 10% of all the discussion on boxing Twitter is by, or sorry, 90% of it is from like 10% of the users.
Yeah, I think there's like, I don't know, 7% of the American user base is active or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's those numbers can be skewed anyway. You know.
Well, I skew them to fit my arguments.
A lot of people don't want to talk up. Like I said, I'm not saying that this is going to light the that division on fire. I'm just saying I liked how they laid that out.
Yeah, I am curious at whether or not it makes any difference because I like it. I personally really like it. I like to know where we're going. Like, let's say if Spence was fighting Ugas and they just said they just released. Actually, no, you couldn't exactly do it for Spence Ugas because like a guy like Spence is getting rematch clauses on everybody. But like in what is a lower level fight? Okay, like Rosario versus Lubin. That's a fight where you could just say like, oh yeah, and in December, Jermell Charlo, or no, actually, you could do September. Jarrett Hurd fights the winner of Rosario and Lubin. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. But like I said, again, I'm repeating myself, but I said sort of that's more the style that Espinosa wants. He's like, let the people know what's gonna happen. But you know, everyone's got their own idea of how to market fights, and some people don't want to commit like that. You know,
Well, some people are me, and I am
Yeah.
always right about this stuff.
But I'm saying, yeah, because some people go, well, hey, if I win, now I got more options. So why am I going to get locked into a fight? You see the good and the bad of that too. It's like, why am I locking myself into a fight where if I win, I could have more options? And
Yeah, that's the other thing.
That's why it's tough to make these kind of things in boxing.
Well, because now you're doubling the trouble of negotiating 2 fights instead of 1.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And as you can see with the Fury AJ fight, how many times that fight's been signed?
well, or how many times they've agreed to it.
Yeah, negotiating
nothing
one fight
signed.
could be very difficult.
I mean, yeah, that's a situation where the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing.
I think they're on the 15th fucking agreement
But
now that they've announced.
all the luck to them. We're hoping for you, buddy, but you guys are not making it easy for boxing fans to take any of the negotiation seriously.
Yeah,
But watch as I say this, it'll be announced like official before people actually listen to this.
No, I don't know. That'll be really fucking. I don't think it's going to happen. But see, this is what's so interesting about how Floyd basically operated, because he knew what fights to string along and what fights just to make, because there was like no there was no further buildup that you could get out of him. Like he knew that Manny fight is going to just get bigger, and he was right. Something like he's not like Robert Guerrero. He didn't string that one along. He's like, I'm a Showtime, boom, fight Robert Guerrero, and then fighting Canelo. He hit that one because he's like, oh, this is the right time to hit it. So it's and some promoters used to be able to do that. Top Rank used to be kind of good at that, and they're not anymore. Like, as much as it's fun to goof on Top Rank, they were actually good at making big fights once upon a time. But now it's like they have no read on the thing. So yeah, it's kind of tough. A lot of people have ideas, but to really sell a fight, it's really fucking difficult. And I don't know, it's just bizarre that how Floyd just seemed to have a really great sense at what people were going to do. Like, who the fuck would say that 2 fights with Maidana would sell, let alone 1.
Like, he struck while the iron was hot on that one.
Yeah, it's like people are like, oh, Maidana fucking, he almost won that fight. It's like, okay, let's fucking rematch. fucking yeah, it's just yeah, when it's really fascinating that he sort of had the grasp on it once. And of course he had a whole team and everything to sort of help him with that. It's not like he's just, up there on the internet by himself, like fucking trends or something. He put the work in. He had a whole team that would fucking test things with boxing fans and gauge interest, So when people say, again, to tie this back to this whole Jake Paul, boxers pay attention. Well, why didn't they fucking say this about Floyd? Because that's what Floyd was doing. Floyd was testing the market reaction to proposed fights. That whole Amir Khan, Maidana shit, that's exactly he was feeding to the hype machine. So here you had a guy who was not only paying attention to what people wanted, he was successful at it. And he wasn't bullshitting with fucking, oh yeah, we're real successful with his one, sub $1 million gate, that the Pauls put up. It's like this dude is doing fucking, people were laughing at $10 million gates when he did the one against fucking Berto. It's just like,
yeah, I mean, there's obviously levels to this, but we all forget about that history and aren't putting it into perspective because it's got, concert performances and great commentary that distracts you from the fact that, this was not that impressive.
No. Like I said, the best part about it was that fucking rap stuff. I like that.
Cool. All right, let's talk about the fights coming up this weekend. We have not much on the schedule, but we do have a featherweight championship match between Emmanuel Navarrete and twice beaten Christopher Diaz. Worth noting that Diaz's only losses have come to Shakur Stevenson and Masayuki Ito, who lost to Jamel Herring and Hironori Mishiro recently. So you looking forward to this one?
Oh, come on. You know that.
I know that you are.
It doesn't really get me fired up. Never. You know, it's I'm all about Brandon Figueroa now. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Boy band eyes. You know, he's got that sister. You know, he's really, you know, he's selling it for me. It's just like, all right, maybe I'll watch it. Maybe I won't. You? Are you hyped?
Not really. I don't mind Navarrete. I think he's developing into a bit of a better boxer. Um, the the issue I have with him is that he occasionally looks very flat in fights and doesn't really look like he's got a ton of ideas in the ring. But the issue is that Christopher Diaz, in my opinion, is just not that good. You know, I've seen him look so boring. I've seen him look so pedestrian in fights. And in the two fights where he fought an opponent that is like well versed in winning fights, he just looked lost. And so I have no question that coming into this fight, Navarrete is gonna demolish him. And you know, Diaz's style is like, if I could call it this, it's a style where it's like, yeah, you're not as you're just not as good as you think you are, and I just don't see this as a competitive fight. I could be wrong though, by the way, and that's the one thing that if you're going to take anything away from the podcast, we're giving an opinion of what we think is going to happen. But time and time again,
fight predictions.
we are proven wrong by matchmakers. And I have a ton of credit or respect for matchmakers because those guys, they can see things that all of us sitting at home don't see. They're not looking for who's going to win the fight. They're looking for like, yeah, okay, yeah, we want Navarrete to win the fight, but who's going to give him a fight where you're going to be entertained? And we just saw on the Fox card that everyone wrote off Bryant Perrella as a guy moving up from welterweight who wasn't going to be able to hold a candle to Tony Harrison. And what we actually got was, while not like an action-packed fight in the traditional sense, you had a really compelling fight with the clash of styles that made for an interesting fight. So I think that there's totally a possibility here that there's something I'm missing. While on paper, I don't think it's very interesting, this one. But at the same time, I'm willing to be shocked that you have these two featherweights in Navarrete and Diaz who are able to put on a good fight. Also, that doesn't mean it has to be competitive because good fights, those things aren't correlated.
Yeah. Just like when Canelo beats the piss out of some Euro trash dude. You know, they're not competitive. They're good fights.
I don't know about that. I was not entertained by the Callum Smith fight. I thought that fight was awful.
I did. I loved it.
I like to see Canelo
loved it.
as a fighter. I like to see him work his craft. But in terms of a fight, did I enjoy what we saw, what we would call a fight in there?
I don't give a shit about Canelo's craft. I just like him. I like seeing him beat the piss out of these fucking UK dudes. I'll watch that all day long. I might goof on it on Twitter about how shitty it is, but there's some part of me that'll never get tired of it. Because, you know, especially with that Callum Smith, because they're like, people are so up the ass, this WBSS. And it's like this great showdown between Callum Smith and George Groves. Just like, oh my God, guys. If you only knew. And it's like, that's it. That's what Canelo is. He's the shock of reality hitting the boxing world in the face. But back to Navarrete, it's just, like I sort of agree with you. It's like, yeah, you hear a lot about this guy, but I'm not really sold on him. You know, I don't know if there's something there or not. You know, I just not sold on him.
I think given the right opponent, Navarrete could put on a fire match. Given the right opponent, but thus far we have not seen him in there with a good opponent. I mean, actually, the Dogbe fights, even though they were like kind of one-sided, those were good fights. But since then, they've given him some of the worst matchmaking in all of boxing. You know, Francisco de Vaca was a disaster. Juan Elorde was just embarrassing.
Not a big Santa Cena.
And I actually think no. the fights that he did in Mexico were just like against super overmatched opponents. The Geo Santissimo fight on the Wilder Fury 2 undercard, Navarrete, even though he got the stoppage, just looked bad. Even like I don't know, it's crazy that he dominated that fight and still looked bad.
Yeah.
But I've said this, I was there live. Okay, sat through all the undercard fights. There was literally like there was something off with at least one fighter in every single fight, including the main event, where Wilder just didn't look like himself. But you saw with Navarrete, he didn't look like himself. Uh, Fundora didn't look like himself. Everyone was just a little off that night.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to give Navarrete the benefit of the doubt. Mm, it'll be interesting to see how he fares against no, I thought that Ruben Villa was like an okay level featherweight, and people were like super sold on the fact that he could outbox Navarrete, and that didn't happen. If he couldn't outbox Navarrete, Chris Diaz certainly isn't. On the undercard is Edgar Berlanga, who is making waves with his knockout streak. Um, We'll see. We'll see. Thus far, Edgar Berlanga's fought the types of guys who come in to get knocked out.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So this is what annoys me about this whole Berlanga stuff is it's just I don't give a shit about memes to the point where now they're funny again. Again, there's a level. If you want to keep them within reality, but then people are like Berlanga, people are running scared of him. Shut the fuck up. It's like if they actually gave a shit about him, they would be putting him in with people that he couldn't knock out in the first round.
well, look at Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson, in his 10th fight, he fought Christopher Diaz, who is now going to be the guy that Navarrete is fighting after 30 something odd fights.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. And again, like you go back to Vito Melnicki, where you got this 18-year-old, they're stepping him up and they're shaking him out. They're not shaking out Berlanga, They're trying to keep this meme knockout shit going.
I don't blame them. They've got something going, and it's gonna catch on. I have no doubt about that. People are suckers for knockouts. They always have been, always will be. You could look at Mike Tyson. You could look at Deontay Wilder. You knock guys out, you bring people in. It's as simple as that. And right now, the build for Berlanga could not go any better.
Yeah, but where's it building to? It's just building the bullshit on fucking Top Ranks cards.
Who cares? You cash him out if he's not good, and if he is, well, then he wins a fight or a world title, and you got a star on your hands.
This is his 17th fight, and they're still giving him guys he can knock out in one round. Like, come on. This is like looking, Butterbean had a fucking tougher fucking road to the titles.
Well, I mean, the thing is, they have stumbled onto something, and I don't anticipate that he's going to get somebody that he can't knock out for quite a while.
Yeah, but I don't see this going anywhere. It's not like he's selling, he's only selling to the people that pump up Top Rank and ESPN. He's not selling to anyone, That's how I feel. God damn it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna work. So
yeah, okay, yeah. But we're split on that,
I don't know that he's good. I'm not saying that. I don't. No, but I'm not making any assessment on that. How could you?
I'm not talking to that point. I'm just saying is I think is selling. I think we're in a bit of a crazy period, just like Teofimo Lopez now thinking that he's the top guy in boxing. Congratulations, you got somebody to pay you the amount of money fucking AB was making on Showtime like fucking 5 years ago.
Like, yeah, true. All right. Well, we will wrap it up here. So if you a couple of things.
So I had to say that whole face off between Kambosos and Gio, because Kambosos is really going to go at him. How do you not bring up that Tio's crying all the fucking time? Dude crying because he hates his girlfriend. He's crying because he forgot the pin on his bank card. Motherfucker's crying all over everything.
He's emotional.
They're busy talking about their shoes. Like, Jesus.
If you like the podcast, you know what to do. Make sure you hit that subscribe. We have another podcast, another podcast feed with a variety of different types of episodes, but part of them are long form narrative episodes. We just did one on the HBO run of Seth Mitchell, and just what a wild ride that was to be in the pre-Deontay Wilder, current Klitschko domination era of the heavyweight division. It was a wild time, Fred. I'm sure you remember the.
I didn't remember who Seth Mitchell was. Is that the guy who used to play football at Michigan State?
Correct.
Oh, see, there you go. Then I do know who he was. Yeah. Yeah.
But do you remember how desperate everyone was to just hype up any American prospect?
Yeah. If it's sort of like if you guys really want to go back into HBO pump time, Baby Joe Macy.
No, nobody remembers that. You could barely even remember Seth Mitchell. But I guess
but it's similar. Yeah. People were like, when they got a fucking heavyweight, they're like a dog with a bone because heavyweights will sell. You can get them. Yeah.
And so and I went over that the short run of Seth Mitchell, and he flew a little too close to the sun very, very quickly. Yeah. It's a lot of fun though. It's gotten some great reviews. So go to patreon.com/SundayPuncher. It's just $1 at a minimum, and you get access to all kinds of stuff. Plus, you get access to our chat, which has all types of wild things in it. We also launched a store.
Oh yeah.
Which I will put in the notes because I'm not going to say the link here because it's something, but I'll put it in the notes. If you want to get a t-shirt, Sunday Puncher themed t-shirt, you could go head over to do that. And if you don't, that's fine too. But also one other thing, a new podcast has just launched that I think you guys should subscribe. It is a different type of boxing podcast, which is more of the freak show element of boxing that is on the lower club circuit. This is called the Tim Boxeo podcast. You should definitely subscribe to that one and follow him on Twitter, Tim Boxeo, which is like one of the wildest things to follow if you are a boxing fan and like to see just WTF moments all across the globe related to boxing. So, Fred, anything else? Did I forget anything?
Well, I'd like to say a couple of things in closing. I'm going to use my Tom minutes here. One, it's only $1 to hear some of this Patreon stuff, which is less than the Ring magazine, and we actually put stuff out on time, unlike the Ring magazine. Two, that slap fighting thing on Triller was fucking horrible. It's embarrassing to slap fighting. You want to see slap fighting? Go to YouTube and look what the Russian dudes are doing. That's real slap fighting. These guys will fucking break open cuts on guys' faces with their slaps. Not that bullshit that was going on last night. That was fucking trash slap fighting. That was bitch slap fighting.
Who would have known? Fred, connoisseur of slap fighting. All right.
Well, you know where I first saw it? From Tim Boxeo.
Pornhub? Oh, okay.
Just like RJ exposing me to the Polish full armor night fighting.
Speaking of that, okay. Have you ever heard of Frank Warren's like knockout boxing series that he did where so in a boxing match, the time goes up. It goes 0 seconds and 1 second.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
Frank Warren did one where it's just like, all right, your check is dependent on how fast this fight goes. So we're going to start you off with 15 minutes. The lower the timer goes down, the less money you get. And there was a short-lived series. Who knew that trying to put a time limit on knockouts would result in actually worse boxing?
Oh, God. And that type of pay arrangement is illegal in the United States.
Well, of course. That's why they did it in the UK. Duh.
UK, yeah. I'm just saying. So if you're trying to, revive that idea.
If somebody was just like about to call their rich friend and say, hey, want to finance a great idea I've got? Yeah. Just know you're probably breaking the law.
Yeah, but maybe try to sell it to Triller because apparently they'll buy fucking near anything right now. So, anything that will give them another metric that they can just bullshit on, they're gonna buy. So,
Anything else from the final thoughts of one Fred? Okay, well,
I
guys,
think we
I hope
stretched
you.
it out pretty good for not having much to talk about. So
Yeah, there wasn't too much going on. I mean, obviously the Showtime announcement was big, and we could have spent a whole hour going over that, but we've already done that on a podcast.
Yeah,
so no need to beat you guys over the head with the same podcast twice. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And this is going to be the first podcast in a long time that is going on YouTube. We have the reason why the podcast, if anybody's still listening and cares about this, the reason why we're not on YouTube is because we use real music, and YouTube does not fuck with real music. They will take you down. They won't even let you upload because they scan your video and they are able to detect if you have copyrighted material. So we aren't even getting past that, right? So now, with the Tim Boxeo podcast, as I'm involved with it, I wasn't telling you guys to listen to it because I love Tim, even though I do. I'm telling you with that because I'm involved.
Your conflict of interest?
It's not a conflict of interest, buddy.
Fuck,
I'm not conflicted whatsoever about it.
Fucking Chris Mannix here.
But I'm trying to do it. I've learned a lot over the course of the years in doing a podcast, and I was like, we're gonna do this the right way. Well, I figured we should probably do things the right way on our podcast, which means no more illegal music, none of that stuff. We're gonna do things the right way, non-copyrighted music, so we can go back on YouTube. And I just can't wait to read the YouTube comments where we get cooked.
Yeah. So we've I've been amazed at how anti-promotion we've been,
I mean, I'm just like that in general,
Like we had so many avenues that we could have just fucking flooded, the Reddit, since you built that fucking place.
Well, I mean, we could just tweet we could tweet literally the bare minimum tweet every time we do an episode. We don't even do that.
Yeah, we don't know. I think I tweet more about it than you.
Well, you make jokes and they're good jokes, but in terms of oh, hey, everybody listen, new episode. We don't do that.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah. So yeah.
But yeah, that's coming soon. That is exciting. It's a little bit more work, but we can do that.
I only need one song though.
Oh, well, that's the other thing. We may have to change it a couple of times, but deciding which song we're going to use on that non-copyrighted material, yeah, that will be the tricky part.
We'll talk because I just stumbled across something that might.
He's gonna send me the chicken wing beat or something. I know it. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening. Appreciate it, and we will be back very soon. Oh, we have an episode coming out on the Patreon. Fred, I think you're going to have to come on for this one. I asked people to send in hot takes, and we're just going to rate and discuss how spicy the takes we get are.
Ooh, I'll be on that, yeah, for sure.
And there were some scorchers that I saw. There was a lot that I was like, all right, that's. But then I saw one, I was like, whoa, buddy, you need to. I don't even know if I can read this on the air.
That definitely sounds something I need to be on.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you.